Now for this course section, you should of course know what React Context is. That's a prerequisite, and therefore I strongly recommend that you go through dedicated React resources diving into React Context before you continue with this section. And with that out of the way, attached you find a notification component file, a zip file containing this notification.js and this notification.module.css file. These two files are attached in this zip file, and you should add them to your project into the UI folder in the components folder. That's a simple presentational component which will just output a title and a message as a notification shown at the bottom of the screen once we do show it. At the moment, we have no code for showing it, but that's about to change throughout this course section. Now, one important note first. You don't have to use React Context for this course section. For giving the user some feedback about the current status of the ongoing HTTP request, you could also just use local state and provide any feedback of your choice. My goal just is to show an overlay, a little notification at the bottom of the screen, and I want to control that globally with the Context API so that we can trigger this notification and control this notification from anywhere in our application. That's my only goal here. Now, therefore, before we add React Context, let's see how the end result should look like. Let's go to the _app.js file in the pages folder, and there we have our layout, we have the head section with the general head data, and we got this component prop which renders the actual page content. Now in here, I also want to output the notification component, and for this we need to import notification from the components folder there from UI and the notification.js file we just added. I'm just adding it here so that you see what we will add throughout this section. This notification component takes three props, a title, a message, and a status, and therefore I'll set these three props here now. I'll set the title to test, the message to this is a test, like this, and the status to pending for a start. If we now save this, we have this notification element at the bottom. And the goal is to show this once we did click the register button, and then once the request succeeded or failed, we want to replace it with a proper error or success variant. Let me show you these variants here. If we change this to success, if we change the status to success, this switches to this success notification with a green background. And if, on the other hand, we change it to error, this switches to this red notification. So that's the notification. But of course, it shouldn't be hard-coded here. It shouldn't always show up. Instead, it should only be shown when we want it to show up, when we have an ongoing request or when we have a response from a request. And I want to control it with the Context API because I want to render the notification component here in _app.js, but I want to trigger it from inside other components. For example, from inside the newsletter registration component, where we also send this HTTP request. And because that's the case, because this component should be triggered from totally different components than the component it's being rendered in, I want to use app-wide state management. I want to use the Context API to avoid pointless prop drilling and long prop chains across multiple components. And therefore, let's now start using the Context API.